It's good.
Okay, here we are. So today we have two invited speakers, Professor David Lange and Professor Mustafa Mashal, who's gonna talk about the sabbaticals and they're gonna share their past experience. The topic is sabbaticals, why, where, and how. So with that, maybe Mustafa, would you like to go first?
Thank you, Nishant. Appreciate the opportunity to share my thoughts here. And hello, everyone. I'm Mustafa Mashal. I'm professor of civil engineering at Idaho State University. I'm also the associate vice president for research innovation partnerships at ISU and a joint appointee of U.S. Department of Energy's Idaho National Laboratory. So I've been at Idaho State University about 10 years now. In fact, it's coming next month to 10 years. And I started my career in industry. So I worked in industry, various parts of the world for about 8 years, and then I transitioned to academia in 2016. When I joined university, obviously it's a different environment. Although I had a PhD and I had worked as a graduate research assistant back at the University of Canterbury in New Zealand, but taking the role of being a faculty is a different ballgame. So for the first year, I was a visiting assistant professor, non-tenure track, and it was mainly a teaching position where I was asked to teach classes, but I always had passion for research. And my field is structural engineering. I study structural and earthquakes, and um, I always missed that component of research. So I just did research pretty much in my volunteer time until my position became tenure track, assistant professor, and then a couple of years later, um, they were gracious. They considered me for early tenure and promotion to associate professor. That was also the time that I actually started building a more research infrastructure collaboration, but most of my collaboration was limited to the people or places that I have been to. So it wasn't so extensive. I was doing teaching, research, and service similar to many other faculty. But once I was promoted to associate professor, was also the opportunity to start expanding my discipline, my research areas. And there was a time that I was eligible to apply for sabbatical, and I took advantage of that. And for sabbatical, I actually applied for Fulbright. I did have experience as a Fulbright student back in the days when I did my master's at SUNY Buffalo, but going as a U.S. Fulbright scholar was a different application system process and everything. So I applied for it, and when I was preparing my application, although I had some experience from Fulbright help, but I needed mentorship. So there were some really kind colleagues around who had tremendous amount of experience in Fulbright. And since I was also going with my family, considering that, so had to make sure that it's a place that we will be happy as a family. So many options, as you know, about 135 countries, I believe, are under that program. So we decided to choose Qatar. So I applied for a 10-month Fulbright at Qatar, and it was just after COVID time too, and things were just getting a little bit flexible. The restrictions were being lifted, and it was the World Cup soccer time too in Doha, Qatar. And I was fortunate that my application was successful, and I was based at Qatar University. Now, there are a lot of pieces that went into thinking about a thoughtful application for Fulbright because a lot of people might think Fulbright, just go teaching research, but the core of that program is mutual understanding. You're becoming pretty much an unofficial culture ambassador of the United States. So you have to not think of it as a benefit to you, but as a benefit to your home institution as well as your host institution. And since it's a small world, my host was actually a graduate of University at Buffalo, and he was teaching at Qatar University. We didn't know each other back in the days, but we shared similar professors. So I moved to Qatar and for 10 months there, started teaching a class as well as doing research, good connection with the U.S. Embassy, and it just broadened my horizon overall, what other people are doing. I did not have much information about how institutions work in the Gulf countries and even the broader area of North Africa. So when I was there in Doha, the U.S. Embassy was very supportive of me going and doing short visits to other institutions around the region. So I was able to visit Kuwait, Saudi, um, Jordan, Egypt, and Turkey. And that pretty much built a network of international collaborators and new ideas, new trends, learning from them what other people in my disciplines are doing. And I was really impressed with the quality of the universities, their ABIT programs, research heavy, fantastic researchers. So had it was not because of a sabbatical, I wouldn't know like what other people would do in that part of the world. So I really enjoyed my time there. But I also took the opportunity to build collaboration with the universities because I thought maybe it's best to, establish memorandum of understanding between some of those universities and Idaho State University. So it was also an opportunity for me to get into leadership roles. Maybe that was something because of my industry background. I like managerial skills and opportunities. So I transitioned to the Office for Research upon conclusion of my Fulbright, and I became a special advisor to the Vice President for Research and Economic Development. And I joined appointee with Idaho National Lab, and that was when I could see the bigger picture that beyond you, who else you can help and establishing the MOUs with good universities in Qatar, Kuwait, and then we even expanded it further to Latin America, Peru, Ecuador, and all those lessons that I learned during my sabbatical as a Fulbrighter really helped me to polish my skills for human engineering. I listened to a talk by one of the people in our profession once that he mentioned that a lot of people might think that, your papers, your degrees, and all the awards play a big role in your success long term. But generally, it's about 15% of your success. The other 85% is called human engineering, how you talk to people, how you treat people, how you work with others, how you are tolerant of other people's culture sensitivities, and making sure that it's not a force-fitting environment for collaboration, but it's more a natural, organic way of building that. So those were the lifelong lessons that I think that I wasn't taught as a student, nor I experienced in industry. So that sabbatical changed my whole perspective. So when I came back, every single opportunities I had, I tried to talk about benefit of sabbatical, encouraging other faculty members that if you're eligible, go for it, apply for it. It's a life-changing opportunity for you. So since then, I have established new areas in my research and was pretty successful in obtaining more funding. In fact, about now altogether 7.2 or $7.3 million in research funding that half of it I would give it credit to my sabbatical that established a network of strong collaborators. And nowadays, things are multidisciplinary. Proposals are big. The funding agency require you most of the time to have industry collaborators, university collaborators, and how can you work with them if it's a problem that you're trying to solve that's shared among several people beyond your region even. So again, that was very good, and it also helped me to get more motivated into administration. So I grew into the role and became the associate vice president for research last year. And I would say that continuing on that trend, it also substantially gave me more boost on what's next. So I'm actually pleased that starting next month, I am actually the new vice president for research and economic development at East Texas A&M University. And I would like other people to be successful and take advantage of this. So that mentorship at the end of the day, people who care about you and let you know that take your sabbatical and consider this is very important. It's going to have a big effect on student success. It will create opportunities for students. Higher education is about students, and we are here for students. They're our clients. So the more projects, the more collaboration you bring, the more students will benefit. And student success is not just getting an A in a class. It's about the whole picture, holistic picture of how or they are able to get a job after they graduate. Are they skilled in what they're doing? What are the feedback from the employers? And all those things, I think I would say, have been tremendously, uh, um, I would say, inspired and by the sabbatical leave I took. So hope that I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. Thank you so much. This was very, very nice. Yeah, yeah. Let's thank our Professor Mashal. We can use the virtual pause here. Okay, thank you so much. David, you are next.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel. My name is David Lange. I'm a retired professor from the University of Illinois. I'm a colleague of Nishant, and I spent 30 years in my professor career at Illinois. I've been on two sabbaticals in my career. Um, I've probably supervised people coming to Illinois on a couple of occasions as well. So, one of the first things is to sort of cover what the rules are about being eligible for a sabbatical. I would say most universities are approving sabbaticals or opening up the sabbatical as an option after 6 or 7 years in service without one. And then whether you take it right away or not is depending on your interest and your ability to put together the proposal. At Illinois, faculty interested in a sabbatical have to make a proposal to the dean, and this gets reviewed. I would say one of the biggest criteria for these proposals is to make the basic topic of the proposal worthy of the investment that the university is placing in you. In the case of Illinois, we have a sort of standard terms where you can take a one semester sabbatical at full pay or 2 semesters at half pay. That actually, Nishant, maybe I'm wrong about the details there, but basically you can do two versions, a short one, a long one. And in any case, you can see already that the university is in fact making an investment here. When you're gone for a semester or 2 semesters, you're going to not be teaching your regular coursework, right? And that will place a burden on other faculty in your area or other kind of maybe hiring an adjunct to cover your position. So there's a real dollars and cents investment behind your ability to take a sabbatical, and you need to respect that. So your proposal to the dean should be, in fact, very compelling. It should be based on some kind of innovation, something new, something creative in terms of your scholarship. A lot of times people talk about the sabbatical as being a moment of recharging, refreshing, and that's somewhat another way to look at the same kind of thing. What I would say if I was a department head, I would not approve would be a sabbatical to just do the same old things you're doing back home. And if your proposal is to catch up on writing papers, I wouldn't approve that. That's not the innovation that we're looking for in a sabbatical. Most times faculty, in fact, Mustafa talked about this too. Most times people take an international travel opportunity. I highly endorse that. It's sometimes people at Illinois are not leaving town. I personally kind of wonder why that doesn't, there are also family reasons that perhaps they don't have the ability to travel that easily. But I think if you can at all make it possible, you should use the chance to infuse a little bit of new influence in your career path by talking to new people, being on site at another location. So when you write your proposal, I think you need to have a very clear purpose. The purpose should be something about exploring a new avenue of research or perhaps access to new equipment. When the people came to Illinois, in all those cases, people were coming in particular because we had equipment that they didn't have back at their home institution. And spending time at Illinois would give them a chance to work with some pretty advanced laboratory equipment. So much of that kind of thing plays into what you plan to do with a sabbatical. Um, these collaborations that we're talking about do take time. You cannot really expect to put together a compelling plan for a sabbatical in a month. It takes a lot longer than that. You should think about uh, tying together the collaboration in maybe a year before you end up being eligible to take the sabbatical. Some of these things, especially if you're relying on the host to provide funding for your stay, uh, it takes the time for them to work that through. So I do like Mustafa mentioned the Fulbright program. That's one I've used that. When I went to Denmark, I mean Finland, I was on a Fulbright grant, And so there are some international opportunities for funding. Other funding ideas are to use your own research money. Certainly, if you have a project, it might be able to support your exploration of that topic at another university. The host university often will, at least in my two cases, I found situations where the host had internal funding for visiting faculty. So when I visited Denmark Technological University, DTU, I went as a guest of Henrik Stang and used funding that was available on their campus. And then when I went to VTT in Finland as a guest of Erica Holt, she was the one that guided me into this special particular category of Fulbright that was a partnership between Finland and the United States. So in both of those cases, the funding really was in part from my host. So I was invited to come with that. The last thing I want to say though is that in fact, Mustafa mentioned this too, the sabbatical, including travel, is a great opportunity for uh, side benefits for your family, perhaps. In both of my cases, my sabbatical included taking all my children in one case and one of my children in another case on the sabbatical. And so having a chance to see the world, as you might say, it's actually one of the great things about working in higher education. The amount of international travel and collaboration is really fosters a lot of opening your eyes to different cultures and getting to know different people. And that's been, as I sit here in the retirement, I look back on with special fondness all the opportunities I had for travel. Okay, those are my remarks about my experience.
Yeah, thank you so much, David. That was really, really insightful and very, very nice to hear those. So, okay, so let's thank David for his remarks. And then with that, I think that's the end of our sort of the presentation or the recording part.